Welcome back to my channel. In today's video, we're going to be doing a step-by-step polygel nail tutorial with some simple Valentine's Day nail art with some new products that we just released. So please keep watching and I hope you enjoy. Before we get into the nail tutorial, here is a full in-depth look at our new Valentine's Day collection that is now available on our website. This is the Celestial Love collection. It includes a new product, which is our new art gels. There are 8 shades. It's all astrology inspired. They have a thicker yet creamy consistency similar to gel paints, so you can use them as a base, use them for nail art or layering different effects because a lot of them do have some pretty stunning shimmers, liquid chrome finishes, etc. You can buy it as a bundle or individual jars, and you can use code DTYN to save 10% or any brand ambassador code, and we offer free shipping on orders over $60 in the US. These colors are going to be amazing to use year-round. I can already see myself using some of these for summer, for Halloween. Of course, they're absolutely perfect for Valentine's Day, and this is the new art gel brush that each collection will include for free, or you can purchase it separately. And of course, our gel polishes also include some stunning colors for Valentine's Day or year-round. Our link and everything will be in the description. You can shop at doperthanyournails.com. So let's start off with our prep. We're just pushing back the cuticle very gently. As I always say in every video, I really take my time with this step. It really depends on how long it's been since I've done my nails, but I definitely needed a good cleanup. Then I'm taking a 240 grit sanding band and just removing the shine from the natural nail and any leftover cuticle that may be on the nail plate, keeping it very gentle, but also just making sure we do a thorough cleanup. And we are going to be doing a long almond set, and as you all know, these are my go-to nail tips. I've been using these since I started my nail journey. They're also perfect for stiletto nails. They are available on Amazon, and I'm just kind of showing here, like, you know, sizing out your nail tips, you know, when it's too big, when it's too small, and how it should just kind of fit sidewall to sidewall without any extra pressure needing to be added. Young nail swipe to dehydrate and cleanse. This is going to help remove any oils and help our retention. Know if you've done a great job with your prep and your nails are pretty much ready to go if you do this with your lint-free wipe, and it pretty much evaporates right away. Super satisfying. I have really low iron, so just ignore any ridges on my nails. Getting back into taking my iron pills, super important for healthy nails. So now we're taking Young Nails brush on glue and applying that on the inside of the nail tip. You want to use just the right amount of glue, and using a brush on glue helps a lot. It's easier to control the product. You don't have to worry about squeezing glue everywhere. And I pretty much just hold that in place for about 10 seconds. This is in real time here. So I'm just trying to apply a good amount of pressure and just kind of hold still. And then in about 10 seconds, it should be ready to go, but you can also flip the nail over and kind of apply some more pressure from different angles just to make sure like the sides of the nail tip and everything are really glued on there. Again, I've been using Young Nails brush on glue for years now, and it has never failed me. We're gonna go ahead and remove the shine and just kind of taper in the nail tip as needed, staying off the natural nail and making sure we don't thin out the nail tip too much. And I'm just gonna reshape these so that they are rounded at the free edge. So I'm basically doing like a long skinny almond. So filing under the nail tip first and then just gently rounding out the corners. Just trying to make sure it's as round as possible. And once we do our application, we're gonna reshape again anyways, but shaping before you do your application to the best of your ability definitely helps a lot. You can already see kind of the difference that between those two nail tips, between shaped and not shaped. So even with like pre-shaped tips, you still wanna shape a little bit, whether you're doing Gel X, half cover tips, square nails, almond nails, stiletto nails. Doing a little bit of shaping always helps with pre-shaped tips. Just taking a manicure brush and some alcohol and getting rid of that dust. I know this is where a lot of people dehydrate because they use like a dehydrator that comes with the brush. I kind of do it the opposite way, and it's worked really great for me. I mean, my nails are pretty much already dehydrated and they kind of get dehydrated again once I remove the dust. So I haven't had any issues with that. So this technique has worked just fine. Now we're gonna take some Young Nails Protein Bond and apply that to the natural nail. If you're struggling with retention, if you have oily nail beds, you can try applying a second layer. Just make sure you keep the coats very thin and you're trying to stay off the skin, and you don't want to flood the nail with Protein Bond either. That can also cause lifting. And just make sure like the first layer has air dried before you add a second layer. Then we're gonna go in with a gel base coat. I am testing out a couple of different gel base coats for my brand, but I haven't really landed on anything that I'm ready to release yet. So in the meantime, just use any gel base coat. You just want to make sure that you apply a full layer to the natural nail and the nail tip and fully cure and leave the sticky layer there. It's going to help create an anchor for your polygel. Today we're going to be using Wispy Peach Polygel from my brand and our polygel brush. I've shown these in a couple of our videos, but just kind of showing it here again. This is a larger brush with kind of a tapered flat brush head, but it has enough density at the base but tapers out so that it's kind of easy to use for application and the cuticle area. And these are all of our polygel colors. We have 4 colors, so I'll just quickly show them to you again. This is actually one of our most popular products, is our polygel bundle, where you can get all 4 shades and the brush for a discounted price. We also have a bundle with just the polygel shades at a discounted price. So it's a really great deal whether you're a beginner to polygel or you're a more advanced polygel nail tech, nail artist, and we sell everything individually as well. So here is what the Wispy Peach Polygel looks like. It's a really nice natural nude color. This has quickly become our most popular shade. Our pinks were really popular for a little bit, and lately I've seen that this has become very quickly popular, and I don't blame you guys because it's honestly a great shade for everyone, for all lengths, all styles. And it's, you know, it's not like too intense, you know, it's just kind of like a nice neutral shade, but you can definitely use it for like longer nail sets with more nail art as well, or even just like for an overlay. So I'm just getting my 70% isopropyl alcohol ready and just kind of showing how I prep my brush. So you don't want the liquid to be dripping off of your brush. You don't want it to be too dry either. You kind of just want something right in the middle. You want to keep your brush just damp enough to move around the polygel. And our polygel is a pretty medium consistency. It's not too sticky, it's not too stiff. It's not like grainy. It doesn't have that like grainy texture that you see with a lot of like softer polygels. So personally, I really love our formula. It's kind of just, you know, really balanced, like I said. So I'm just gonna start applying that to the thumb here. So I like to do the 2-bead method. So I'll do 1 bead kind of where the natural nail meets the nail tip, fully cure that, and then do the 2nd bead in the apex and cuticle area. And this color, it blends really easily. All of our colors do. So really, whether you're looking for a little bit of coverage or a lot, you can use less or more, and it's gonna look really great regardless of what kind of nail set you're trying to do. So moving on to the pointer finger, so just starting with a bead at the natural nail, where that point meets the natural nail and the nail tip. So you just want to make sure you're placing your bead kind of in the correct areas because it'll make your application a lot easier. From there, you just kind of start patting and dragging down, and you do want to use a light hand. If you're kind of using too much pressure, you're going to move the polygel pretty much out of place where you've set it. So it's just kind of about having like a balanced light touch and just kind of using a combination of patting and dragging motions. And like I said, our brush makes tucking the product into the cuticle area pretty easy. So having a larger brush definitely helps with that versus some of the smaller brushes that come with a lot of polygel kits. And just swiping the sidewalls to make sure any excess product is removed. And the free edge is gonna look a little bit funny because there's a little bit of, you know, product there that we're gonna shape and kind of thin out a little bit so that we have that long skinny almond shape. Do your best to, you know, make the polygel kind of fit to the nail tip the best you can. So here we go again with the 2-bead method, just flattening it out and starting to drag it down once we've kind of got the placement to how we like it. And the more you practice, the easier this will become. But of course, using products that kind of work with you versus kind of against you, and you have to work really hard to kind of, you know, get the polygel to, you know, kind of mold to the way you'd like, you know, that doesn't help either. I definitely struggle with that as a beginner. So finding a polygel consistency that you really prefer and find easy to work with is really important. Whether that's our brand or another brand doesn't really matter, but you know, everybody has different preferences. So it's just kind of about testing out different things and seeing what works best for you. So we're just gonna go ahead and blend the rest of that nail tip out. So sometimes I like to blend out the kind of free edge area and drag it down before I finish off the cuticle area. It just kind of depends. And that's the great thing about polygel is it's not drying at this moment as I'm doing this application. It's just staying right there. So I can kind of just go about my application in whatever way feels most comfortable to me. I have unlimited time until I put this into my nail lamp. So once I remove like any excess product and make sure the cuticle area is as clean as I can make it, I'm just gonna go ahead and try to make sure everything is really smooth using light tapping motions, and then curing that and moving on to the next nail. And if you feel like your polygel's like not really lasting or your application's not really turning out the way you'd like, I would just recommend watching videos from your favorite creators or tutorials and just kind of really watching closely how they kind of do things. That really helps. And also just kind of experimenting, you know, with your technique and kind of slowing things down and seeing where you can maybe try like a different technique with, you know, whether it's your products, your application, and just kind of experimenting and see if that helps. Prep is super important, but even with application, that's a big part of your nails lasting. So, you know, using 2 beads definitely helps unless you're doing like really short nails. If I were to just do 1 bead, unless I use a lot of product, it would probably turn out really flat, and that would happen to me a lot as a beginner. So using this 2 bead method, kind of like I'm showing here, 1 bead kind of where the nail tip is, and then 1 bead in the apex cuticle area, it kind of helps ensure that you have enough structure and strength, that your nails aren't too bulky, but that they also last. I've also experimented with different like apex heights over the years, and now I kind of like definitely a thinner apex. You definitely don't need a mountain for your apex for your nails to last. So it really is just about experimenting and seeing what works for you and what lasts best for you, kind of based on your lifestyle and how you, you know, use your nails and stuff. So I will just let the music play as you watch. And if you're new to my channel or you've been watching for a while and you feel like there's certain topics that I could maybe cover in like future polygel tutorials, definitely let me know so I can kind of make note of that as I continue to make tutorials. We're gonna get ready for shaping. I have my dust collector here with a fresh filter, which is always super satisfying, safety glasses, an N95 mask, and I'm gonna be using my Melody Susie E-file. But before we do that, once you cure your polygel nails, there is gonna be a sticky layer. This is the inhibition layer. So you just wanna take some acetone or Young Nail Swipe or alcohol and just remove that sticky layer. That way when you file, you know, it's not like gummy or getting stuck in your drill. All polygels have that sticky layer, so you just take a lint-free wipe and remove it, and it should be good to go. So we're gonna start off with the 5-in-1 bit. This is the 5-in-1 bit from Pana. It's a fine grit one, so I just use this to clean up the cuticle area. Basically make sure that area is as flush as possible without removing too much product. The great thing about this tapered bit, and the other reason it's called like a 5-in-1 bit, is because you can do like multiple things with it. So you can also use it to just kind of even out any areas, clean under the nail, clean up the sidewalls. So I actually like to do this step first. I know I say it in every video, but everyone has like a different routine, but it really just kind of helps me see where I need to shape more or less. As I've kind of continued to do nails over the past few years, I just try to make sure that I'm kind of really assessing like what actually needs to be shaped more or less versus just kind of mindlessly doing a routine just to do a routine, if that makes sense. Because polygel is softer than acrylic. I mean, it's not like super soft to where it's gonna file off right away, but it doesn't take as much filing to remove the product. So it may actually take you less filing than it might with like acrylic nails, for example. Because once I do this step, I basically just run a round bit over the surface of the nail, and then I just hand file where needed, and that's pretty much what I do for shaping, besides any buffing at the end. And I try to use this at a low speed and just kind of let the drill bit do the work for me. The cuticle area is definitely the trickiest because it's a balance between cleaning up the area and making sure you don't remove too much product. So just try to kind of, again, slow down if you feel like you tend to remove too much product, or, you know, just file off a little bit and kind of assess and see if you really do need to remove more or not. Plus, as you continue with the shaping routine, if you follow like the steps that I do, more product will get removed anyway, so you might not need to do as much as you think. So I like to go in with the round Pana bit. This is a coarse bit, so it can be pretty sharp when you first get it, so definitely be a little bit careful. But I use this at a high speed and I pretty much run it over the surface of the nail. When I first started, I used to use this bit a lot more, in the sense that I had a lot more to debulk, but now I can pretty much just run it over the surface of the nail and kind of over the cuticle and apex area lightly, and that's usually more than enough because we are going to hand file as well. But this is just really nice to use over the entire nail to make sure everything is nice and even. So the last step is pretty much just hand filing. This is where everything really starts to come together. So I really feel like the combination of the e-file and the hand file is what works best for me to really get a nice crispy shape. So I just season the 80/80 grit hand file, and then I start with the sidewalls first. So this is just to make sure I remove any excess product that's under there, but I try to make sure I'm keeping my files straight because, kind of like I was showing there, it's really easy to put a notch in your nail if you are holding your file at an angle. It can be a little hard to show with your own nails. It's a little awkward to file your own nails in general, but I kind of have to like brace my fingers like this, but basically just trying to keep my file parallel, straight, and remove that product under there. And then I go in and I file the sidewalls. So for like a shape like this, I generally try to keep my file mostly straight, but not like completely, straight or like using too much pressure, if that makes sense, because I'm not trying to create a stiletto nail. I'm still trying to keep like that round shape. So I try to just keep it pretty minimal as well. And I was just showing underneath the nail, like when you file underneath, it actually really cleans up anything else that might be remaining under there, and your nail will look really nice and clean underneath as well. Then I just run it over the surface of the nail, mostly focusing on the free edge and kind of like that 3/4 of the nail that you kind of see here where it's cloudy. If you wanted to run it over the cuticle area, you definitely can, but it will continue to thin out that area. So if you feel like it's already at a, it's already like flush enough, it's already kind of, the structure's already to your liking, then I wouldn't run the file over that area too much. But I tend to just like do it just a little bit, but I try to keep that in mind as well. Like this is gonna remove more product. So if you don't want that area to be any thinner, then I wouldn't do too much filing on that area or use a less coarse file. We're just gonna kind of refine our shape. So wanting to keep everything kind of round at the free edge, but the sidewalls are kind of generally straight. It's definitely that like kind of almondetto, the almond/stiletto shape that we're going for. So this is pretty good. The only thing that I would finish off with is buffing with cuticle oil because it really just gets out any scratches or any imperfections, and it's going to leave you with a really nice smooth surface that you can just do nail art over. Of course, once you'll want to put alcohol over the nail again just to remove the oil, but I used to do this more consistently and I recently started again, and I was like, wow, like this makes the nails look really, really nice. It has a really nice finish to it. So I would recommend trying it out if you haven't already, or you can just buff in general and that will also give you a nice smooth finish. Mine is kind of like the oily finish that we're going to remove with alcohol. This is pretty much what our Wispy Peach Polygel looks like, and I'll show you more closely as I finish shaping the rest of the nails. It's a really nice neutral color, like I said, and it's really growing on me. I love all of our Polygel shades, but lately I've been finding myself grabbing this color more versus our pinks because it honestly looks great with so many different designs and lengths. So now moving on, we're gonna basically repeat that process for the rest of the other nails. So just starting off with the sidewalls here, making sure we remove any excess product, and then filing against the sidewalls. Bracing your fingers like I'm doing here definitely helps just to kind of keep everything stable, but it is always kind of awkward filing your own nails. I've seen some people rest their hand on something like a jar or something. I haven't really tried that. This is kind of the best I can do with my filming setup and with the dust collector as well. So once we basically file against the sidewalls and under the sidewalls, we're gonna go ahead and file the surface of the nail. So once you see that cloudy texture across the entire nail, you've hit pretty much every part that you want to file. Like I said, if you don't want to file the cuticle area, then you would just skip that, like I'm pointing to here, but I just went ahead and did a little bit. And then just finishing off with the free edge, just making sure it's nice and round and has that skinny almond shape before we move on to the next nail. You could also use a 100 over 180 grit file for the free edge or any part of the shaping if you feel like you want something a little less coarse. What I originally used to shape with, and then I've just found that I've just stuck to the 80/80 grit hand file for so long now that it's kind of hard to imagine going back, and I feel like I can really get the crispiest shape with this nail file, but sometimes starting off with a less coarse file can also be helpful as a beginner. and I will just let the music play as I finish filing hand filing the rest of the 3 nails left. So here's how everything is looking after I buffed with cuticle oil for the rest of the nails. And here is all 5 nails, and super satisfying. I really love how the shape turned out and everything. And I think my shaping has actually come a long way all these years. So if you are struggling or you feel like it's just not where you want it to be, just keep practicing and keep watching videos, and slowly but surely you will definitely get there. Don't try to compare yourself to others. Everyone's journey is different. Progress is also not linear. So, everyone kind of has days where, things are just really off, whether it's application or prep. And yeah, so now we're ready for nail art. We're just gonna scrub with alcohol, which I already did in the previous clip. And this is how it should look once it's kind of dry and ready for nail art. We're only gonna be using one color, which is one of the 8 art gels that I shared in the beginning of this video. This is called 7th House. It's our classic red. I'm gonna be using this all year round. I know for sure that I'm gonna be using it year round. It's just gonna be so perfect for like Halloween and everything. Super pigmented, easy to work with, but not too thick. So if you're looking for something that's thicker than like a gel polish, kind of like a gel paint, this is definitely the color for you. It has no orange undertones. So it's definitely like the perfect classic red. So I'm just gonna be starting off with French tips, and I'm gonna be using our art gel brush to fill in that smile line. And I'll explain a little bit more of kind of how I like to do my French tips on the next nail. But as you can see, this is pretty much like a 1-coat coverage. So you don't have to apply a ton of product. So this is also really helpful for like French tips and stuff. You can definitely use like a thicker art gel / gel paint for that as well. So we're pretty much gonna be doing Frenchies on all the nails except for the middle finger. We're gonna do the flaming heart design. So here is how the thumb turned out. So for French tips, the method that I find easiest now is just drawing a dot kind of at the center where these kind of the dip of the smile line would be, and then just using a longer liner brush to basically draw the rest of the smile line. So if you use a longer brush, it'll make it really easy to just kind of draw it in one motion versus a smaller brush. So I would recommend using at least a 12 millimeter brush at the minimum. I'll show you another method as well on the next nail, but for the flaming heart, we're gonna draw a line down the center and then a dot at the top where the flames will be. And we're gonna make a very curved line for the flame. So using that 12 millimeter brush again and just making sure it tapers off at the end. That's how you really get the flame look. I feel like it's with a thinner edge at the top. And then we're gonna draw the heart on the inside and go ahead and fill that in. That's basically gonna be the outline of the heart, and then the inside will stay blank. Definitely cure in between if you have to, and then using that same brush, we're gonna draw 2 flames on the edges near the bottom. So as you can see, just kind of lifting your brush up at the end will help you get a thinner line there, and then just filling that in. And making sure that curve is like very curved, like almost like a U, will also help you get that kind of flame effect as well. And then we're gonna repeat that on the other side. I kind of did it backwards here, starting from the top. It was just easier that way on my own hand. Drawing this on your own hand is definitely like 100 times harder than doing on a press-on nail. So just kind of use whatever motions work best for you. And this is how it turned out. So here's the method I used to use for French tips, and another method that you can try. You basically draw a line on the edges and then a straight line, horizontal line where the French tip, like the smile line, would be, and it's basically an upside down A. Fill in the free edge and like basically continue rounding everything in until it meets at the center. This is a very abbreviated version, but you just basically keep bringing in those smile lines until they meet at that point. So that's another way you can do your French tips. So I just went ahead and repeated that on the pinky and top coated, and that was the full set. And I also found this video from 2 years ago of where I kind of started. So it's kind of crazy to see the difference. So I had posted this on TikTok. So I just wanted to share maybe as some motivation. And again, these are actually, so that was one of 8 colors that I used in our collection. This is from our Valentine's Day collection. These are the other 7 shades. So you can shop this full collection or individual jars for Valentine's Day or really any time of year. It's all available on our website at doperthanyournails.com. The link will be in the description. The polygel, the brush, everything will be on our website as well, the Wispy Peach Polygel. And I will leave a discount code for you to use as well. And I will see you in my next video, and thank you so much for watching.